Welcome to Business Spotlight. I'm Rob Andrew, and today I'm delighted to be joined by Terry Bauer from Inside Stories. Good
Hi.
afternoon,
Hey, Rob.
Terry.
Hey, Rob, you're right.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Terry, maybe the best place to start would be if you could tell us a little bit about yourself and then the story of Inside Stories.
Well, my background is primarily around live events, and I met my business partner through that. We've known each other for about 20 years on and off, but we got talking again about 7 or 8 years ago. 2 years later, we was forming Inside Stories. We're about 6 years old now, and my roles previously have been around working with experiential agencies about creating the experience for events and live events, the purpose, why they're doing it, why people should be interested in it. And my business partner Gareth and I got talking. Gareth was head of creative at a couple of really large European-based live events agencies, and he was basically writing pitches and working with sales teams and creating that whole purpose statement. And we just got chatting, and we said it's something that we would certainly like to use as a business ourselves. And we thought, let's go for it. So we did it for free for a couple of clients early days. They paid us in the end because they liked it so much. And Inside Stories is basically narrating the purpose of your business. It's who you are, what you do, why you do it, and why anybody should be interested in anything you have to say on any platforms for any medium. It's about creating that empathy and narrative. Most businesses nowadays aren't that unique because most businesses are an incarnation of something else. So it's very hard to be truly unique. You know, we can't all invent the wheel every day. So to stand out, you have to stand for something. And it's that purpose that we dig deep into. We tease that out of you, we write it up, we present it back, and it's your story, including elevator pitches, hero's journey, we do archetypes, we do the why, how, and the what, about the audience, and it all goes into that rich tapestry, and it becomes a big mix. So you can use it if you're designing a website, if you're working with a digital media agency, if you're pitching for investment or speaking to an audience. You just pick and mix the elements that you have. But it's things that come out of you. That's the difference between us and a branding agency per se. Everything comes out of you. You know how you want to talk about the business, but depending on where you are and what you're doing, it comes out differently sometimes. And so we create that language so the story sits there and everything feeds off of that. It's really interesting work, actually.
No, it sounds it, Terry. The first question that jumps to my mind is then when you sit down on that first, what do you call it, discovery session
Yeah,
or?
it's a workshop. It's a day process. Yeah.
Okay.
Well intended.
How on a, I mean, I know everyone will be different, but how difficult is it to get to that why in that session?
It's not actually that difficult. That's the first part of the session. We have 6 stages. We have the why, how, and the what. That's usually the emotional part. We have a barometer, and about halfway through that session, people tend to get quite emotional because if you start or run a business, it's come from a place that's really deep, and we're having told it's a bit like therapy. But there comes a point where the penny drops and they go, and you can see them light up. Shoulders drop, they relax, and they go, that's what I was trying to say. And then it flows from there. It's not rocket science, but it just takes somebody to create that safe space, people to be able to talk, particularly two partners who have been coming at it from different angles for years, maybe, and they didn't realize it. And to get that consensus, because not many people actually sit down and do that with themselves. It's quite an in-depth type of process. It's knowing how to tease that out. And then we go through the feel, think, know, do, which is about your audience. And we look at types, and we look at the elevator pitches and how you position it. We do a manifesto, which is the story, the heart of it, which is, I guess, in old money, it would be like a mission statement, but it's a lot more involved. That's the bit you say when people say, so what do you do? And you go for it. You give them the heart and soul of your business. And then we talk about the hero's journey. So if you're talking about your business at an event, or if you're speaking or talking to any type of audience, it's about describing your business as if it's a movie script almost. So you take them on that journey.
Understood. I have to ask before moving on to the next question. I have to ask, how often when you have business partners do you get to a different why or reason for being?
Oh, every time, because it's different parts of the business. We like to involve as many people as we can. I mean, if it's a small team, it's normally the leadership team or a few people, for example, from the shop floor to board level. So you get different points of view. And it's not always the consensus where, the CEO is sitting around the table and everybody's got to conform to them. It's a safe space. so everybody can put their point of view across. And a lot of the time, people change direction in terms of, not in terms of the actual direction of their business, but the clients they go after. Because until you truly know who you are as a business and who you are, you won't really know what sort of clients you want to go after. Because you know what it's like, you're very more experienced than we are about it. You know that businesses attract like-minded businesses, I guess. And it seems to work that way. So it's creating that safe space.
Really interesting area. Really interesting area. Terry, what's the journey been like then over those 6 years? Tell me a little bit about the journey. How's it been?
Well, we started, and we had startups gravitated towards us. I guess it's painfully obvious that you know, people have got a business idea, they want to sanity check it, or they're pitching for investment, they want to get that seed funding or stage A, category A funding, that first stage funding. Then we started to talk to some more developed businesses between 3 and 5 years old, so that SME level, who are at that point where they either want to go big or quite another big position for us is where companies have maybe too fast and they've become disjointed. And you get, for example, you have a company that starts with five or six people, you grow to about 20 in the space of a couple of years. That's quite significant growth. But then sometimes it's disjointed, like you get cliques of people or whatever, and you all get a bit disjointed in your message. So it's getting as many people together as you can within the organization and talking that out and framing it in a piece that they can all buy into and they've all come up with. And then we've moved on to some higher level businesses who are global businesses with multiple departments in multiple countries, but working with small sections of them because they all have their own individual budgets. We're almost become like a stealth agency for them because we're too small to be on the preferred suppliers list. We're working on that, but we're just enough for them to be able not to have to go higher and get sign off. So we're just on that level. But the value that we bring is like an agency that will come in with a huge wraparound service. But our specific niche is that purpose bit. So there's all different grades now. We still deal with some startups. We're doing some more things for startups now around very small introduction e-learning piece. It's like somebody riding a bike and you go, well, there you go, off you go. That's enough for now. That's great. You've got this. You've got enough to be able to engage with other agencies, digital agencies, creative agencies, etc., website designers. If you want to come back for more when you're a bit more established, that's great. We're here and we'll help you on the next stage. So there's three distinct tiers that we work with now. That's only trial and error. That's no marketing genius. We worked with them. It went there. We started going that way, and we sort of went that way. The case for most businesses, I guess.
Thanks for sharing that honesty.
Being honest.
Yeah. So Terry, what would you say has been the biggest learning for you over that period? Learning as a business owner, maybe. What over that period?
The fact that you can't wear all the hats. You know, it's a common thing. We all have the same sort of pain points, no matter how big or small your business is. We've got to recognise that you have to pay for good, and until you pay for something, you know what good looks like. There's an underbelly in most business communities. We find that, and it's through no fault of their own, is that people who start businesses in this country generally have to beg, borrow, and steal for bits and bobs. And you start up and you get to a certain point, you know. It's different in the States, where for some reason a lot of the startups that we've spoken to have got quite a bit of seed funding, you know, $500,000, $2 million, whatever, seed funding. So they've done something right. Maybe that's a confidence thing, I don't know. But in this country, there's this underbelly of people who, for example, if you need a bit of an accounting, you need some accountant's work or information, or you need to know how to marketing, you need to know how to sales, you look for the free seminars. You attend that, it's about half an hour, 20 minutes a session. It's a tick box. And then these people make the mistake to think that that's enough, and it's never enough, because when somebody does something for free, it's not that they're tricking you, but you don't get to open that you know, that lovely bottle of whiskey that's been there for hundreds of years. You get the sort of the stuff that's on the shelf. But that's no fault of the businesses that are doing it, because you have to establish trust and give a little bit away to get something. So people start to feel that that's enough, and because they feel that that's enough, they don't know what it's like until they actually pay for something, and then you get the crown jewels, then then that when the penny drops and you go, that's what it is. That's the reason that cost that, because that person is an expert at that and they can get me to this stage in my business. So being able to recognize, going back to your point, recognize that we use, we're just about to engage with social media agency. We just had our website redone. So we recognize that to get things that you want, to get something to a stage where it's professional and it looks good and it does what you want and it's a peace of mind thing, you have to pay for it because it's an investment. And that was quite hard at the start, because it's like you will try and be jack of all trades and get by. But it's been an investment, but it's a longer term. You have to look at it longer term thing. So you have to bite the bullet at the bit, pay out for it. Then you get the rewards further down the line.
Terry, that's really interesting and it's a great insight. So thank you for that. In terms of competition, though, because it's quite a unique product or service you're offering, but what is the competition like?
Well, we don't, without sounding too big, we don't really have direct competitors. There are a lot of people that talk about story, etc. But we are very specific in the way that we do it. And we've never had a client turn around and say, this is not what we thought it was. And this is not what we thought it was in a good way. We get that all the time. But they've never turned around and said, we don't like it, because everything comes out of them. Unlike traditional brand agencies, we wouldn't sit there and wait for them to finish speaking and then feed them back something we think they want to hear. That's not casting doubt on brand agencies. We tend to get pigeonholed when people don't really know what it is.
Yeah.
So they'll go, oh, story. Oh, yeah, I know what that is. You've got to do a bit of this, bit of that. But generally, it's not. But until you've been through our process, you realize how unique we are. And we specifically niched in that, because there's a lot of digital agencies out there who are brilliant at what they do. They amplify the message, but we simplify it. So we create more educated people to go to them. So, for example, if somebody goes to a digital agency and they want a website done, they want their social media campaigns, they want pay-per-click, etc., 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 they'll get a questionnaire on who you are, what do you do as a business, what's your purpose, and based on the strength of that information, the agency can only work with what they get. So we're sending more educated people who turn up at their door and go, right, we know this, we know our purpose, we know the tone of language we like to use, these are the phrases we use, these are the verbs, these are the adjectives, this is the way that we want to be perceived in our marketplace. The agencies go, great, we run a campaign on this, 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 and this, and they're away. So we've developed over the years alliances with a number of agencies, collaborations, etc., where we get clients who we work with, and the first thing they say when they work with us is, can you recommend somebody who does this, or a videographer, or an image person, or a digital? So we recommend, but they also put people in front of us who aren't ready to work with them yet, and we sort of get them to that stage. It's the purpose piece that they don't have time to do.
Okay, that's understood, and it's interesting then. So, because what you offer is different, your pitch is your pitch then along the lines of come and experience a discovery session and you'll understand better. Is that how you go?
Yeah, generally we do a half-hour discovery session. It's free, where people would talk about their business, and we get the gist of the tone that they want to do, that they want to talk about, and the sort of types of clients that they go for, etc. And then we advise on the next course of action. It's not just a means where we go, we say, oh, you need what we do. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they're great, and that's really what it might be, a couple of things, and we'll happily help them with that free. That's fine. That's not a big thing. But a lot of the time, it's businesses who recognise that they do become disjointed, or they've got something and they don't quite know how to tell the world about it. There's just something that's missing, and that's where we come in. And that's the pitch, really. We're educating people, but we're also preparing them for working with other things down the line. It sort of feeds into it.
Yeah, I understand. So education, okay, that's clear how you've positioned that. In terms of the future then, Terry, what does that look like? I mean, it's interesting to see the journey you've had over 6 years, but what does the next 5 years look like?
Well, we've got a bit of a direction. We're that sounds so disjointed, doesn't it? We've worked up until now on 98% recommendation, and we're averaging about 3 clients a month, which is a lot, because it's a lot of background work that we do. So we do the workshop for the day, we tease everything out. It takes about 3 or 4 days to write it up, then we present it back. It's another half day. So there's only 2 of us, and we're very specific in the way we work. So we're looking at an automated service that will get startups and lifestyle businesses, because there's a lot of those around, to a certain point. And it's a no-brainer. It's very small entry fee point. They have a license to use this for 6 months, and they can get to a certain point. And sometimes it's enough for people, but sometimes they'll go, that gets them on their way, and then they come back and we have those touch points. Maybe they'll come back further down the line when they're when they're a bit more established, or we get a lot of recommendations. The other side we've been finding lately is we're getting quite a few inquiries from people who are looking at personal branding. So people who are CEOs or company owners, they've all had a lot of experience over their careers, and they want to share that with either a new generation of potential customers and followers, or they just want to give a bit back. And they're a little bit unsure about public speaking, or they're not quite sure on how they're going to structure that. So we do our bit that we would normally do for a business on a person. That's fed into as well another offshoot of that, into the recruitment industry, where recruitment companies are looking at finding it harder and harder to differentiate themselves and pitch themselves into businesses to say, give us all your jobs and we'll find placements for those. We're working with them to offer a value add service where we would do a purpose situation with them. So we do a bespoke version of what we do with them. So we'll help them create a persona that's going to be attractive to candidates, because it's quite hard to attract candidates nowadays. It's not just a basket of fruit on a Monday morning. It's a health and well-being policy. It's a gym membership. It's a company car or a car allowance. It's a this. It's a that. It's whatever. And that's before they can even establish that they can do the job. So, and then they might go, "Oh, we don't like your sustainability model. You can't prove the food chain of where you source your materials, or how you do what you do." So we're offering that as a value add. So we can do the sanity check, help them put their purpose together and make themselves more attractive. And also it's a double-sided coin, because the candidates, some of the higher level candidates, want to be their own brand, as it were. So they want to have, come with their own entourage of things and things that they can do, etc. So they're more attracted to go after the high level jobs. So that's a way forward that's quite interesting. That's starting to become more prevalent now. I don't know if it's an ego thing for people, but it certainly works in the value add for businesses. And it's a value add for the agencies as well, because they've got something else to go to, to go to them with. Say, you come on board with us and we'll make sure that you're the best X Factor type version of what you want to be. And it's not smoke and mirrors. It's just being true to themselves. Because a lot of these businesses who are looking to recruit vast numbers of individuals, etc., and candidates, are not have lost their way. Sometimes they become disjointed in their sort of internal alignment, and they don't necessarily live and breathe what they do. It's getting back to that, and it's getting back to their agile roots, almost as if they're a startup culture that a bit funky. It's like your dad going to a festival and going, yeah, or me going to a festival. So my dad, going, yeah, I can do all this. But everyone looking at you going, do you know what? Actually, you can't. But it's being a bit more subtle. That's the best way I can describe it. And
being a bit more subtle. Yeah, I mean, that's really interesting, though, that what you've just been explaining there, that the world has certainly moved on, hasn't it? I mean, really, since COVID, the expectations, and businesses have to keep pace with that, and they have to do things a little bit differently than they've done in decades before. So yeah, really, really interesting stuff. In terms of looking at the future, if I can ask, what challenges you foresee then going into those next 5 years? What do you see ahead of you?
We thought AI would be a big challenge. It's a sort of challenge. I mean, you can type in bits and bobs and it'll spit out an elevator pitch, but that's only based on things that it can scrape from, and it's not up to date. It's things that it can scrape from, from wherever. That's okay, but there will never be a substitute for sitting in a room with somebody or over Zoom, etc., and actually being able to change the tone of the conversation, the direction, to get a specific thing out. They'll never be able to replace that spark. So there'll always be that element. But so we can certainly look to embrace it for automating things further down the line. So I guess that's a bit of a challenge, but it's something that we want to try and embrace. It's not, if you pardon my French, it's not bastardizing what we do. It's it's enhancing it. So our life becomes a little easier, but we're still giving the same quality of work. For example, if the more automated things that are entry level educational pieces, as opposed to the actual that genie in the bottle, that spark that we get in a room when we're with people, because you can't replicate that. And it's a great feeling. It's such a brilliant feeling for us and for them. It's sometimes it's life-changing. I mean, some of our clients we work with have said it's just literally changed their lives, because they can talk about what they do in a way that they remember, because it's come from them. You know, they can use that, and they can go on to, they can use AI, ChatGPT, etc., things like that, but going armed with things that they know, that they're a little bit more educated with, so they're more educated about their own business. So that, I guess AI is a bit of a challenge, but we're going to embrace it because we're not frightened of it. It can only help.
Good. Well, we're going to have to.
Yeah. Well, the other challenge was scaling. I guess the automated side would be scaling. That's something that we can scale, but that'll sort of look after itself, hopefully, as long as we're updating the content and making sure that it's insightful and educational, not just sling some stuff over there and people could buy type thing. But we can't replicate what we do in terms of actual people, what we do, because we want to keep that as that's our little circle of trust, that we can go out and do what we do.
Understood.
In terms of numbers, that's a challenge. But then again, you know, you don't always have to we don't have to have huge banks of salespeople and marketing people, etc. We can carry on and make an excellent living of what we're doing, enhanced with some technology to make our life easier. I think it's just the back office that will be a bit of a challenge, but you know, we're in touch with some really good people to help about that. So hopefully they'll
excellent. Good to hear. Terry, what's been the most influential book or podcast you've read or listened to recently?
I don't know, actually. I haven't listened to any for a while. No, do you know what? I haven't read or listened to anything for about a couple of years.
Okay. Let me change it then slightly. Who or what inspires you?
Well, some of the newer generations, Stephen Bartlett, one of the dragons, he's very much around story and purpose, and it's all about your narrative and creating that empathy. It's not a sales process; it's a human conversation. People like that. We've got Simon Sinek or Simon Sinek, depending how you talk about it. Everybody's got to have a why, and that's very true. It's become a bit of a buzzword now. Everybody talks about it, but not many people actually get you to that point. So that's certainly inspirational people that we look at. Anybody that embraces, you know, the power of story and the power of just conveying people information in a way that you can understand. Like when we say to people, you know, don't give a presentation, you tell a story. Yes, it's about the facts and figures, but you paint a picture so people know it's got a logical journey, and you can take information. So anybody who preaches that, really.
Yeah, and Simon's very good at that, isn't he?
Absolutely, brilliant. Yeah.
What advice, if you were take yourself back to when you were 18, what advice would you give to that 18-year-old Terry just about to embark on their business career?
Oh God. Well, originally, I did art A-level, and I wanted to go to uni and be a graphic designer and design album covers with cool bands and stuff, because I was never that good at guitar and I was never going to be in a band. But other than that, I would say just go for it. Don't worry about things. You know, people put so much, particularly youngsters nowadays, they're forced to grow up so quickly. When I say youngsters, I mean 20-year-olds. That's young to me. You know, they're forced to grow up so quickly. Do things when you don't have any pressure on you. You don't have any debts. You don't have any worries about families to provide for, etc. And do something that you love, and don't give up on it until you get to a stage where, you know, all hope is lost. Sometimes there's a spark that happens, but don't give up on what you want to do. Just do it while you have the chance. Don't wait till late in life. So many people procrastinate, and they either want to write a novel or they want to work for themselves. And funny, you were saying about COVID earlier. We found that's quite a big incentive for people who either been furloughed or made redundant, or thought, you know what, I don't want to go back in that office. I'm going to start. And that was the kick up the arse they needed. Just think about that when you're at that age, when it's almost, when you're young. When I was younger at 18, it was almost like the mindset I had coming out of COVID. It's that laissez-faire, you know, not throw caution to the wind necessarily, but why not? we think of things and we automatically, as a human race, think of a million ideas on why we shouldn't do something. Just think of why, all the reasons you should, and what will come out of it. Everything might not succeed, but you know,
Have a
it's
go.
better to try and have a go, you know, than
Have a
not.
go.
And you learn things on the way. And always try and say yes to things. I think people
Yeah.
ask us about things that what we can do, and you know, if we can't do them straight away, we always say yes, we'll have a look at that. And you know what? It happens, and then we do it, and it's all right. It's not. There's not a great, you know, it's not slapdash. We think about it, of course, but just agree to things and just try and experience more. I think.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid. Just don't be afraid. Just go for it. I think.
Great advice. I like that. It's, you know, follow your dreams. For some reason, as we get older, we sort of get it beaten out of us, don't we? It's
Yeah, there comes a point, you know. For me, it's turning 50. It was you're more confident in yourself. You don't really suffer fools gladly in a nice way, but you're a little bit more sure of things that you do, and you're not worried about taking too many risks.
mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
why not? You know, not what if. It's why not? You know, why not?
Definitely. Terry, any news or announcements from Inside Stories? Anything coming up that you'd like to share?
We've got a collaboration coming up with a really interesting, forward-thinking accountancy firm called the Numbers Studio, based in Brighton, one of our clients. That's going to be an interesting piece. We're doing a discovery piece, and they're looking at engaging clients who don't just want them to do the books and sort out their VAT, etc., but are being progressive. So they get a real granular look at the business from, I guess, the most honest point you can, the numbers. They don't lie. It's the black and white of the business. And they help you direct it for example, if you want to be at a certain level in a number of years, this is how you should set out your financial journey. We do the purpose piece. That's an interesting collaboration. We've got a significant piece of work coming up with a very prestigious rugby group, which we can't say at the moment. That's a game changer. That's in collaboration with a branding agent and a website designer. So we've got three elements. We do the purpose piece, the discovery. The branding person comes in and does his magic and makes it look lovely and interesting and appealing to a mass audience. And the website designer comes in and does his bit to put it all together and put all that knowledge. So that's worked quite well. There's a few collaborations like that, but that's a significant one. It's going to be a labor of love. I can't announce it yet, but it's something that's going to be really interesting.
Excellent. And in terms of that strategic partnership, that's you already work, the three of you together, or is this
that two of us did? We did with the branding agent, but the website designers are new. Sometimes we have quite a few offers of collaborations, because it's something that I guess we complement a lot of businesses, and vice versa. We're not in competition, you know, so we collaborate with digital agencies. We simplify the message and they amplify it. You know, it's not rocket science. It's a nice organic thing. It's not like we're saying we're going to do the purpose piece, and by the way, we're selling some telecoms. We you know, it's something that's organically working. If it doesn't fit, then we don't do it. But it's quite interesting. And Brighton is a brilliant city for collaboration. The business community is fantastic. In fact, Sussex as a whole, it really sets a barometer for the rest of the country in terms of what you can do. It's the strength in numbers, I guess.
Yeah. Definitely. Thank you, Terry. And for anybody, any viewers that would like to connect with you, how best to reach you?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn or insidestories.guru. That's our website.
Mm-hmm.
Or email me, terry@insidestories.guru. Yeah, find me on LinkedIn, and yeah, all the details are there, and have a look at our website. It's very simple. Does what it says on the tin. We're very simple. We don't complicate things, you know. But yeah.
Brilliant. Well, Terry, thank you very much indeed for the insights, for the sharings. It's been really interesting discussion, and I wish you good luck for the future and your continued journey.
Thank you. Likewise. Good to speak to you. Thank you.
Thank you.